All right, Ruben Juarez, thank you very much for coming on to the boxingbar.com, man, and welcome.
Hey, yeah, thank you, Albert. It's a good opportunity to, get to know a little bit about me, a little bit about you, a little bit about Boxing Bar. You've been doing that for a while now.
Absolutely, man. And trust me, I haven't lost contact with you. And thank you for everything you've done for this community and everything you've done for La Colonia Boxing. And hey, man, you're a part of this history. And you see where Oxnard is in boxing, in the boxing world today. And a lot of that, man, it has to do with you. And I finally want to get your story. And thank you for finally coming on, man.
Yeah, boxing did and has come a long way. I started boxing in 79, 1979. 9 years old, going to boxing shows. So now looking at all these years of hard work, dedication, and boxing clubs opening up, the generation is just amazing on the sport right now.
Absolutely, Ruben. And you have I've heard about you a lot, but I want to know exactly what your story is. So you were born and raised in the Ventura area, right?
Yeah, Buenaventura Boxing Club. As a young kid, I signed up at a karate studio, taking Taekwondo lessons. It was about $20 a month, so my brothers and I started doing Taekwondo. And about 2 months later, we go to the studio and there's a sign on the door, sorry, no practice. So the neighbor next door was a barber. The barber named Joe Garcia. He had a barber shop and he goes, hey, the guy's not here. He can't pay the rent. So the studio is closed. But you know what? I'm opening a boxing program in my backyard. Joe Garcia from Ventura Boxing Club invited us over to his house, my brother and I. And he opened a boxing gym in his backyard, in his own house, garage. The first day I went, I fell in love. I continued going 50 years later. You can say that. I'm still involved. I'm still in it. I started boxing in Ventura, Joe Garcia's backyard. My brother and I competed many events, such as Junior Olympics, Junior Golden Gloves, Silver Gloves, Diamond Belt. I mean, you name it. Everybody understands how boxing is as in like an addiction. But an addiction with glory.
What makes a kid want to go in the gym? Like, did you have a hard life? Were you a hard kid? What happened there?
Albert, growing up in the neighborhood, originally we moved to Ventura. My family, my parents moved us to Ventura from Santa Barbara. So we came from La Casa de la Raza in Santa Barbara, young kids, moving into the avenue in Ventura. The only way for us to get along in the community was to join the Boys and Girls Club youth program. So we started going to the karate studio, and then it shut down. We went to the boxing club. And that's where we met kids from other schools, from other youth groups, such as, the Boy Scouts, the altar boys in church, those kinds of things. So we started to get along with people in school, and all because of boxing, going to the boxing gym. I had a coach named Phil Swain. He was an athletic director at Buena High School at the time. I had another coach named Willie Ramirez, and those were good people in my life at the time that guide me to learn how to defend myself, boxing skills, fitness, exercise. I didn't know any other sport. I didn't like basketball, football, nothing like that. It wasn't my style. I fell in love with the sport of boxing.
What were you like as a kid growing up?
You know what? I was a little quiet at the beginning, but I didn't talk much. I didn't want to share that I'm a boxer. I'm going to school, 4th grade, 5th grade. I don't want people to know I box, I kept it to myself. My brother and I were quiet, humble, young Mexicans in the new neighborhood of Ventura. And, once people start finding out, like, oh yeah, you do karate, you do boxing. All right, let me see what you got. You got the 5th and 6th graders. They want to take your lunch money. and and your backpack. So we just never really shared until an article came out, an article of a newspaper. We competed at a boxing show, and Ruben Juarez, Saul Juarez, the Juarez brothers win a medal at a local boxing show. Like, what? You guys box? And that then the whole school knew. My teachers knew. A newspaper ad. We got trophies for competing, and we loved it. People started to notice that we're boxing.
Ventura, for a lot of people that don't know Ventura, what it's like, especially in the Avenue, the hood life. Did you get attracted to that? What attracted you to that? I know you were involved in the gang life at one point in your life. What happened there exactly?
Growing up in a neighborhood, there was times when a few kids would want to bully. They wanted, even though we were boxing, we knew how to defend ourselves, but these kids were a little older. It's times when we would walk home from the Boys and Girls Club, and kids would kind of, wanted to test us. Hey, I heard you box, and let me see. But they were older. After a while, we just started to hang out with certain kids. My brother and I were hanging out. It didn't start till like junior high, 6th grade, 7th grade, junior high school at De Anza Middle School. And that's where I started to hang out with certain friends that I knew that were involved in a little bit of wrongdoings. I wouldn't say a gang or any mafia crew, but you're in 7th grade. We watched movies and, wanted to be a thug kid, a bully, but it wasn't that type. It was just young kids, double dare you. I dare you this, I dare you that. Meaning was like burning a locker, burning the trash can, pushing somebody around, those kinds of things. And it led to other bigger and more dangerous things. But getting involved in a group of young kids in Ventura was not the best choice. It ended up in a tragedy later on in life. And you learn from your mistakes. Getting involved in a group of people that was challenging, was daring, was testing to do certain things, and to us it was fun. It was fun, but it wasn't really the right choices in life.
Well, what do you think attracts kids to that life?
Well, these days, it's a little different with the technology and the Facebook and the social media. It's a little different.
Right.
Back then, growing up, we didn't have that kind of stuff. We didn't have YouTube, and we didn't have Facebook and stuff like that.
Yes.
We were in the streets. We were enjoying ourselves, having fun. And the thing is what attracted me was the friends that I had were supportive of what we wanted to do. It's like, hey, let's go here, let's go there. And everybody agreed. But, the thing is that what happened is that my parents were working all day, late evenings. Nobody's home. Us Mexican families don't have childcare, right. Don't have after school programs. My second home was Westpark Community Center. That was where all our friends went after school, and everybody had a good time, whether it was good or bad. And the attraction was the attention we got from the older veterano teenagers that were in high school. And, I didn't get involved into smoking or any type of drugs that, other friends were doing. But, we kind of hung around with them. They were older, sometimes they bought beer. Sometimes they write on the walls, they put their name on there, and they said, yeah, this is our neighborhood. This is our corner, writing on walls in the bathroom and marking the territory, they said. So it was all supportive, good friends, good people, wrongdoings, but it wasn't wrong how we thought about it.
Right.
Boxing was my way out. Boxing was always there. I have to go boxing practice. Come on, Ruben, let's go. Let's go to the golf and stuff. Let's go to skating plus. Let's go to a school party. Let's go whatever it was. And I kind of did. I ditched boxing. I ditched school just so I can go have fun with my friends. But nowadays I realize all that really didn't help. It was fun at the time. Now, as an older person, you look at those things and you wonder, I made it through the sport. I made it through school. I made it through my health. I made it in life. But I hurt a lot of people in the past. I did a lot of things I shouldn't have done. But I mean, you learn and you give advice to others.
True that. The first time you walked into a boxing gym, what was that like for you? What attracted you to keep going and continue this life once you started, doing the boxing thing?
You know what? It was adrenaline. It was fun. I loved it. The first day, the ring of the bell, the sound of punching the bag, the sound of jumping rope, hitting that concrete, and just the excitement of it. And, the other part about staying in the gym is that representing Ventura Boxing Club and hanging out in the streets was kind of the same, because representing Ventura Boxing Club, and then we will go to Oxnard and box against the Oxnard Boxing Club, the Santa Maria Boxing Club. It was kind of like a little clique, a little crew, but it was in the athletic way. So hanging out in the streets was like similar type. We will go and have a little bit of a rumble with other cities, other little towns, Montalvo, Saricoy, Santa Paula. But then again, I felt the same at the boxing gym, doing the competition and getting a trophy for it.
And you know what a lot of people don't realize about you, Ruben, is how close, we always talk about how Oxnard made it, from the 805, they made it big. But, they don't know how far this kid from Ventura, at one time was in the amateur, almost to get to the Olympics there. How far did you get in your amateur career during that time as an amateur?
Albert, many times people get to meet my personality. They meet me as a person, and they find out that I box. Oh yeah, you boxed? Oh, all right. Where? Colonia Gym? I go, nah, I'm at Westpark, Ventura. All right. So then they start talking about boxing and so forth. And I competed in the 88 Olympics, not the real Olympics in Seoul, Korea, but qualifying and trying and competing to make the team. 1988, I fought Pepe Riley. There was Canada, USA, and Mexico. And those three countries competed in the 1988 Olympics to make one strong team. So I participated at the Pan American Games. I went to Florida. I went to New York, the Olympic Training Center. I've been to Canada. I traveled all over competing for the 88 Olympics. And I cut it short. I got a silver in the Olympic trials with Pepe Riley, which, he became a 92 Olympian. Yep. Yeah. And so he was there the second time around. And that year I tried it again. I was in a traveling team. I went out to many other tournaments, and I ended up competing with Oscar De La Hoya. Oscar De La Hoya and I competed for the box off. I mean, I was at the top representing Ventura County. I was the first young fighter in Ventura County that opened the doors for many other fighters that competed this time of years, So Lupe Aquino was a professional fighter, world main event, world champion. The time I'm trying to make it for the 92 Olympics. Oscar De La Hoya and I squared off. Decision was 4-1, his favor. But, we had a lot of fun. I learned a lot. I went out and competed in many events. Matter of fact, I had just fought in San Francisco for a traveling team for the USA Olympic team. And I was 125 pounds. Oscar De La Hoya was in a separate team, and he traveled out to different areas. We ended up going to the box off. And it was cut short for me, but I was involved and I tried and I participated and I had a lot of support in the community. But you know what, Albert? In 1990, 91, there wasn't that much of a connection. There wasn't much of connection with sponsors,
Right.
promoters. There was no agents. You really had to struggle and fight. I was working. I had a young son at the time. I had a family. I was going to school and boxing at the same time.
Yeah, and even back then, there was a lot of politics in amateur boxing as well.
Big time, big time. If anybody remembers, the 1988 Olympics with Roy Jones,
Right.
you know, when he didn't even get touched, and he lost the round. He lost the round.
Yeah,
so even Roy Jones in 1988 was a product of that.
What weight were you in when you fought Pepper Riley in the '88 Olympic, or like for the trials?
I was 119.
Because I had Pepper Riley on, several years back, and I remember he said he was eliminated by a Michael Carbajal, and Michael Carbajal. Wow, he was in the lighter weight, so I was like,
Carbajal was I believe 108.
108 when he was a world champion. Yes.
108, yeah. So Pepper Riley was during that weight class, and he had to move up somewhere in between the tournaments. During Thanksgiving season, right, holidays, you hard to keep weight, so he had to move up to 119.
Yeah.
And then that's when I met him, and we competed there. I moved up to 125. I ended up with Oscar De La Hoya. And then going on, if I would have went into the 96, I was already, I had a family, I was working. So it was a little harder then.
Pepper Riley, you saw he went on the 92 Olympics. Oscar, he was gold medalist, the only gold medalist there in the 92 Olympics. What did you think of their careers, once they made it on?
I give both of them guys a lot of credit growing up and my era and at the same time.
They had a solid amateur foundation too, just like you did.
And Pepper Riley came from the East LA Sheriffs or some sort of a sheriff department, Hollenbeck Youth Center. He had a lot of support from East LA area. I forgot the name of the gyms, but he had a little support of people helping him out and those kinds of things. You're looking at myself growing up in Ventura, Boys and Girls Club, Westpark, in the backyard. My boxing coach had, everything was coming out of his pocket. Being a barber, he provided whatever we had, and I did what I could from the skills that I learned from him.
Imagine, Ruben, if you would have had not to diss anybody that helped you out there in the past, but I mean, imagine if you would have had a more experienced people in your corner that had connections where you would have gone.
Oh yeah. I think that I accomplished a lot on my own. Pretty much, I was self trained. I had my trainers as a support, as a guidance. But then again, I had to provide for myself. I had to work. I had to go to school, and boxing was my hobby, my life, my soul. That's all I wanted, and that's all I really wanted to do. So I dedicated all my time, and it was school and boxing. That's it. That's all I wanted. And things change in your life. You have a plan, you have a goal, and you get detoured. You get detoured with friends, wrong activities. Things come up in your life. You find a girlfriend, you fall in love, and then in a different kind of love of the sport.
Like you brought up a little bit, how these outside things get in your life. How big of a role did that play, and how maybe you didn't get as far as you could have?
Well, Albert, I work for the county now. I help the homeless community. I help many unfortunate adults, families, children. I've been helping the community for 27 years, whether it's child development, preschool, homeless services, shelters, food. But, people look me up, they Google me, they find stories in the internet. These days, you can Google anything. And then they read my story, and I never share it. I never tell anybody. But I had a tragic accident, hanging out with the wrong crowd, having fun, of course. Nobody ever expected
Right.
to get involved in tragedy, but I was shot, and I was shot 3 times in the stomach, my foot, and my hip. I ended up in the hospital, and this was a week after competing for the Pan American Games in San Diego, traveling to Florida, New York, Canada, and a week later, I ending up at the wrong place at the wrong time. And those things happen, they're accidents that you don't expect. And I was in a hospital for 2 weeks. I recovered. Thank God I was healthy. I was just, I had just competed a week before, so I was healthy. I recovered. I got a second chance in life to share this story, to get that interview with you. Thank you for this opportunity, and just to share a little bit, and those that are in the same steps, boxing, family, and your friends from the neighborhood. Just think about it, and if you have basketball in your life, baseball or football, just be careful out there. Just be careful, because your friends will always gonna be there no matter what. If you do some wrong activities in your life, then we hope that you survive, and and we hope and we wish you the best. But if you just keep your mind straight and focus on that sport, like Ryan Garcia these days, like Mikey Garcia these days, um, you know, those are young kids that we knew as little kids, and now they're the face of the sport.
To show how strong you are mentally and physically and everything else, and how much you want to help people. You're from Ventura. You were shot by people from the Oxnard hood, and now you get this job to go work over in that hood of the people that shot you. Anybody would scratch their head and say, number one, how are you going to pull that off? Number two, how did you survive? You're still talking today. What went through your mind when you were asked to do this job to go work in that hood? How does that happen?
Yeah. You know what, Albert? The main thing is that at the time when it happened, it wasn't planned. It wasn't something that was planned. It was just the wrong place at the wrong time,
Right.
and nobody knew what to expect, and nobody knew how to accept it. Surviving and recovering and then started training. I became a trainer in Ventura at first, at my own gym at the Westpark Community Center. I became a trainer there. I started coaching. I started bringing fighters to Silver Gloves. We went to Kansas. We traveled all over for competitions. I was offered a job with the city of Oxnard to coach at the Colonia Boxing Gym. So I took the opportunity, and I went as an adult. I went as a trainer. I was there to help the kids succeed in the sport. And there was no animosity with anybody. There was no bad vibe with anybody. What happened in the past, and I was there to help the youth, to help the kids, even though it was in a different neighborhood, a different community where I was raised and grew up. But I respected everybody there. Everybody respected me, and it just went along. It just went, it just grew. It just grew stronger and stronger, and I got along with everybody there.
And it's a trip because I don't even know you too well, and I've seen you go into places, and you're one of those guys. And I'm not just saying this because I'm talking to you right now, but you're one of those guys that you walk in a room and you just light up a room with your smile and your, enthusiasm and your charisma or whatever you might want to call it. There's something about you that just lights up a room. But you obviously did that in the gym whenever you would walk in there because everybody seems to have some kind of attachment to you. Where do you think that comes from?
I felt comfortable, Albert. I felt comfortable in any boxing gym and any city, any neighborhood. I just felt like, there's young kids that wanted me to help and coach and teach and talk to and hang out with. I don't know. That's just something that I always felt comfortable working with kids, and then they become adults and they become professionals, and then they become parents themselves. And I don't know. I just don't know what it is. It's just something that I feel comfortable in the boxing arena, helping a young individual, a young kid. I see me through them, and I want them to be what I didn't get to be.
We're talking about how you weren't able to compete after your injuries there. How serious were your injuries? Are you still feeling some stuff today from, what happened to you there many years ago?
I'm good. I recovered 100%. I did have a surgery. I did have 6 feet of intestines removed. So soft tissue that's not 100% recovered for for competition. I mean, getting hit in the body or getting stomach shots or punches to body blows. So, it's not. I guess I'm not able to go in the ring and compete anymore. But I'm able to exercise, fitness, and coach other kids and stay healthy and fit. So I just turned 50. This last year just turned 50. So I feel like 25.
I'm always bringing up the legendary boxing gym there, La Colonia, and that's where Oxnard got its big start there with all the big fighters that came out. Like we were saying, you're a part of that, training from there and training the youth from there. What was it like for you the first time you walked in that gym? What do you remember about that?
Coming from Ventura as a young kid, I would come to the Colonia Boxing Gym and do some sparring. I remember Jesse Casares, Ruben Garcia, other kids. I went there in '82. Panchito was a trainer there. Going to the Colonia Boxing Gym was kind of like a little bit of not knowing who they. I mean, the gym is in the middle of the neighborhood. 79, 80, 81, 82 were the years that I've gone to go train and spar a lot of these kids. And at that age, you don't really look and focus on a gang group. You just don't do that. It's a sport. It's boxing. But later on, you go back as a young adult and they look at you. They're coming. Here comes Ruben. I remember these days now, I would go again in later years, 89, 90, and then I would go spar Robert Garcia. I would spar Johnny Ramirez. I would spar Ramon Villanueva. I would spar many other fighters at that time. And I think that I was one of the persons that opened the doors for a lot of fighters today. And a lot of them are, Fernando Vargas, Robert Garcia, competing in local boxing shows before Fernando even started training. I think Fernando was watching a TV show that Jones Intercable recorded, and I was one of those that showed on those commercials, and he came to the gym and he wanted to box, and I was already, going into Golden Glove competitions. I was one of those that opened the door for a lot of fighters today.
You brought up a name, Ruben Garcia. Now, I remember years ago, okay, I was on Facebook and this guy, Ruben Garcia, hits me up and, I had brought up all these fighters from, from Oxnard. And then he sends me like newspaper clippings of back in his day.
Oh, yeah.
And he told me, hey, man, this was me back in the day, but I messed up. I got into some shit. And he goes, but this was me, back in the day. And I was trying to get info from him, and he kind of like kept it short with me, but he did send me all these paper clippings.
Jesse Cáceres.
Rest in peace.
And we even though we came from different neighborhoods and different boxing gyms, we joined together at a boxing tournament because we were the Southern California 805 boxing team, boxing club, and we go to LA County.
He had a brother that fought too, no?
Yeah, Mauro.
There you go. Yes.
So Ruben Garcia, we have different names that are coming to me right now. Ramon Villanueva. I'm sure you were able to.
Ramon calls me all the time. Yes.
Yeah. Johnny Ramirez. There was a lot of other fighters. There was other clubs too in El Rio with Salvador Lopez. Mario Solorio.
I talk to Mariano all the time.
Well, Panchito was the first coach I knew in Oxnard at the Colonia Boxing Gym.
Yeah.
That's who I knew going there and training at the beginning. Later on, back in 95, 94, 95, I was asked to go and help out Mr. Garcia, Eduardo Garcia, Robert's father, to coach. And then that's where I started coaching, Jose Aguiniga, Mario Aguiniga. I mean, we have Israel Correa. You have El Terror Madrigal. I mean, Rolando. I was a trainer in the Colonia gym, helping Mr. Garcia, Rolando El Pochito Reyes, Adam Flores. I was the trainer of every single fighter in that gym, along with Mr. Garcia, which he was, the one that was there. But, I was the trainer of everybody. Eddie Contreras, my compa, from Sanapa. So, all these fighters that were from different cities, but united at the boxing gym. We're all one. When you want to talk about gangs, we're all one gang in the boxing club.
How you brought up all these, fighters, what do you remember about training these guys? What were they like? What was like Rolando and Jose like?
You know what, Albert, it's easy to describe a personality of a fighter, but it's hard to describe a person outside the ring, because Rolando had skills. He was a little nervous at first. He wasn't really positive in his mental. Physically, he was there. Mentally, not always on point. He was a good fighter, had good skills, counterpuncher. But he was a little nervous at first. And of course, everybody gets nervous. In anything. I mean, people get nervous getting married, and he did an awesome job. He trained as hard as he could. He dedicated, and, he did what he could. He won plenty of fights. He lost one or two by mistake, but that's part of learning. He always made weight. He was dedicated. Jose Aguiniga has skills that no other fighter had as a kid. But then again, discipline was hard for him. He never lost. 33-0, stayed undefeated.
Right.
It was discipline was his weakness. Growing up in the neighborhood of La Comercial, the trailer park and the commercial trailers, it was just the discipline wasn't there. He needed a little bit more guidance. He had very good skills. His brother Mario, it was just, he was mismanaged. He had a lot of skills. Mario became number one in the world at 106 pounds.
I remember, yes.
Mario Aguiniga was 106 pounds, 15 and 16 years old. He was number one in the world at the age of 15 and 16 at 106 pounds. So those things happen in the career, many other fighters, my other cousin, Beto, Austerberto, the 805 Hammer, 106 pounds. Yeah. boxing is a life, and you have to live it. You have to be and sleep, eat and live boxing, because you have an amount of time that your body can handle. And you can play baseball, basketball, you can play football, you can play hockey. You cannot play boxing.
Exactly.
You don't play with the boxing sport. It's a serious sport. It's a life. It's a commitment. And you really have to dedicate yourself, because you could be riding a bike, an accident could happen, and career's over.
Oh, yeah.
Career's over. You can be roller skating somewhere, and you can, fall and land the wrong way, and, boxing will not be the same for you.
Coming from you, you were in the wrong place at the wrong time, and that's what stopped you from fighting too.
Yeah, that was a downfall for me. The good thing is I was 21,
Mm-hmm.
I was healthy, I was fit, I recovered, I continued the sport, I stayed connected.
Yep.
I started coaching kids. I went to the community. That wasn't always a good welcome growing up, but I did it for the kids. I did it for the community. I did it for myself, and I'm still doing it now. I live in Oxnard. I talk to the community. I help the homeless. I provide community service to homeless population. Anybody in need, I try to do what I can.
If someone were to ask you who is the best, rawest talent that ever came out of Oxnard during your time that when you were training, who do you think that would be today?
It's hard to say. At the time I was competing, at the time I was boxing, it had to be Robert Garcia and Ruben Juarez. Robert Garcia and myself grew up, within 4 years older than Robert. As a young kid, I gave him a lot of credit for competing. He had a father that was dedicated to the sport. Us two were the face of boxing. The late '80s, early '90s, and then Fernando Vargas came in, right after, like 90, 93, 94, 95. So at that time, he was already competing and traveling with the USA Olympic team. So you're looking at 95 and 96. I don't remember any other fighter at that time other than Robert Garcia and myself.
Robert said that he was eliminated in the trials by Willie Jorin, who later become world champion. You were eliminated by Oscar De La Hoya, who won the gold medal. What were your feelings when you saw him win that gold medal?
Well, I supported him. I followed him after, I always wanted to watch him after beating me, because I was hoping he will make something.
Right. Absolutely.
After beating me, I mean, I was one step. It was the Olympic box off. Mm-hmm. It was the box off. Yeah. So I can go and go. I was an alternate. If he was to hurt his leg or get in trouble in the streets, I was an alternate.
That's a trip.
Go to latimes.com, type in Ruben KO. That's my nickname, which is my catering business called KO Tacos. Mm-hmm. latimes.com, Ruben KO. You'll see my story. You'll read my history, and participating in the life of boxing.
That's a trip. What do you remember about Oscar's skills back in that day? Was he like as strong as people say? Did he have that left hook like he would later on in the pros?
Oh yeah. He knocked out fighters in certain tournaments in the second round, second left hook. That was his mark. He's a natural left-hander, southpaw. He switched into right-handed, so that left hand is that power left hook. He knocked out fighters with helmets, headgear, 125 pounds. He was a sharpshooter, quick, and he had really good skills. I mean, he was just a stand-up fighter, one dimension that took care of all these other fighters.
And at the moment, you told me the other day that you're still training fighters out there. Where are you training these fighters at?
Right now, the billards, the corner pocket billards, Fernando Garcia,
Mhm.
a good friend of mine that I ran into in the boxing world. His son Emiliano wanted to compete and train, and actually his son won the national PAL tournament at the age of I believe it was 12, 13 years old, and he opened up a gym at the Billards Corner Pocket Pool Hall. Ruben, come and train my son. I have a gym. I've been there for 6 years. Thank you to Fernando Garcia from Corner Pocket. He opened up the doors again so I can continue coaching. It's a small donation. Kids come and go, and I'm not there to make money or to anything. I do it for the fun, for the love. I do it for free, and it's a donation, $2-3 a day. Just come on over, hit the bag.
And do you have any prospects at the moment?
Right now, I'm working with Jesse. Jesse is El Güero. He's been around. He's got a lot of experience. Soon to turn pro, hopefully by next year. I'm already communicating with the Road Jones promotion and maybe give him a little deal by the end of next year.
People that they don't know what a working machine you are. You work full time for the county. You have a taco catering truck. You still work with these fighters like we're talking about.
Albert, just me, just the me, humble person. I've been working for the county for 16 years now. My job is helping the community, anybody in need of services, social services. I have a catering business on the weekends. I still coach boxing. I do it for the love of the sport, for somebody, and someday they would like to be a world champion. I'll help them out. I got connections now, not like before. I'm taking a class right now where I can study a little bit. I have a lot of fun. I take care of myself. I help everybody. I think in the future you'll see. I don't know. I'm involved in a nonprofit organization right now that it's getting off the ground, and it's a youth nonprofit organization. Something that I don't know all details yet, but I'm getting involved to start and being part of a nonprofit organization coming in soon in Oxnard.
Once it's all said and done, everything that you've been through in your life, that we've heard of you, that we've read of you, how does Ruben Juarez want to be remembered once it's all said and done? And even though it's going to be in about 50 years from now, but how do you want to be remembered to all your fans, all the people? I remember Ruben Juarez as an individual, as a person, and as somebody that brought up the sport of boxing in our county of the 805 Ventura County. How do you want to be remembered to people?
You know what, Albert? That's hard, man. That's a hard question to answer. I guess I'm frozen right now. I really don't know how I would want somebody to remember me, but all I can say is in boxing, in any sport that you do, all I can say is that if you're a champion in the ring, you got to be a champion in life. And if I had something to say to anybody, how to be remembered is a champion in life. I will go with that. I will go with that. And I'd like to say one more thing. If those that are listening and those that get the opportunity to listen to this interview with Albert, the Boxing Bar, and myself, Ruben Juarez, you can be a champion in any sport. You can win that Super Bowl ring. You can win that gold medal. You can have that champion of the world title. Somebody will take that from you. Somebody is training harder to get that from you. But if you stay in school, if you get education, if you get a degree in education, nobody can take that from you.
Very true, Ruben. And just to let you know that I think that you're already there because, like I said, when I asked both Rolando and Jose about you. You know, they brought up nothing but good stuff to say about you. And so it seems like you made it to them in their hearts, inside and outside of the ring. And it looks like you already did your job as a person, as an individual, and as a community worker there in the 805. And you've done your job, brother. And thank you very much for coming on. Ruben, it was an honor and a true pleasure to finally get you on, man. And thank you for coming on to, let it out and tell your side of the story and tell everybody what you're about.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Albert. The Boxing Bar and any athlete out there in the community in Oxnard, not just in boxing, in any sport, basketball, the high schools are really recognized for good athletes of track and field, water polo, wrestling, all that. Stay connected, stay true, and be a champion in life.
And that's from Ruben Juarez. Thank you very much, my friend. Thanks, man.